Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Thoughts of a Rambling Mind. As you know, I only make videos when I find something intriguing, and of course, I'm intrigued. So, today's video is going to be about why Terrence Crawford doesn't get his flowers, doesn't get the respect he deserves. And I think it's not that complicated, but it's also not that simple, right? He's clearly a skilled fighter. He's clearly either number one or number two in his division, and he's clearly pound for pound top three fighters in the world currently right now, right? Clearly. But why doesn't he get his flowers? Well, in the fight versus Errol Spence, up until you put him up against Errol Spence, everyone says that he's as good as he is. It's when you put him up against Errol Spence that people start to doubt. And the reason is because all of his real tests, first of all, his career went without any real tests up until the last few years, right? He never fought anybody of any notoriety. He never fought anybody of reputable stature. I honestly think that Terrence Crawford is one of the most unlucky fighters of the new era, honestly, because all of the solid name fighters who he has had a chance to fight against in these last few years, the wins have come in a fluky kind of manner. There was some asterisk that came to it. So the first reputable win that Terrence Crawford has in my book is in Dongo, right? The only problem with that one is, he comes right out, hits him with a body shot, fight is over, right? So we never got to see him tested. We never got to see him put into a rough situation. Now, some people would accredit that to his skill level, and that might just be the case. But there's not enough information to make that judgment, right? So we move on. After that, his next reputable fight, I believe, was Amir Khan, right? And this was a fight I was actually looking forward to seeing because Amir Khan, of all of Terrence Crawford's fights, this one and the Porter fight was the one I was most interested in seeing because Amir Khan, although we know his chin is glass, Amir Khan has height, speed, weight. He's a real challenge, and until he gets caught, he's extremely fast. Now, he's not going to knock out a solid fighter, but what he will do is show us how well that fighter can handle speed in feet and hands, how well that fighter can handle some change-up and just a little bit of awkwardness. Amir Khan is just an excellent fighter to test a fighter out on, just to see where his skill level is. But again, unfortunately, Terrence Crawford clipped Amir Khan early in the fight, and Amir Khan just never got his bearings back because, of course, Terrence Crawford is the greatest finisher in boxing. So once he got him hurt, there was no chance to actually see for Amir Khan to actually test Crawford and for us to actually see what it is that he had to offer. We move on to Kell Brook, right? Now, the reason why the Kell Brook fight was not credited, well, because we all knew that Kell Brook was a broken fighter by the time he'd gone into the fight with Crawford, right? And exactly what we expect to happen is what happened. Now, the problem is that Kell Brook did outbox Crawford for the first, I believe, 4 rounds. He did outbox Crawford. Crawford again caught him with a shot, sent Kell Brooks across the ring. It looked really fluky, and of course he finished him. And I say all of this not to take any credit away from Crawford. These are all really good, credible fighters that I'm talking about right now, and each one of these fights would have demonstrated exactly what it is the Crawford fans and the Crawford supporters are saying about him. I'm just trying to say why it is that there's so much doubt hanging around Terrence Crawford. And it's because, again, in the Kell Brook fight, he was outboxed and outmatched, but Kell Brook his body just cannot sustain any more damage. He's a broken fighter. So we move on to Shawn Porter. Everybody says the 1 foot in, 1 foot out thing with Shawn Porter, which very well may be true. But I was looking forward to this fight. And I was looking forward to it because Shawn Porter is the type of fighter that is going to push you. You know, he's going to give you some awkward looks. He's going to push you. And again, Terrence Crawford was outboxed for the majority of the fight. But the main reason why Terrence Crawford can't get the credit for the Shawn Porter win in my eyes was because Shawn Porter was beaten by his father. He wasn't beaten by Terrence Crawford. Shawn Porter was knocked down. He was knocked down twice in a round. I get it. But he wasn't hurt. He wasn't defeated. He was angry. But he wasn't hurt at all. Watching the fight over, I did see that Terrence Crawford was in kill mode. And I do know from history and experience, seeing Terrence Crawford fights, that once he gets in that mode, that the fight will be ended quickly. And maybe that's what Shawn Porter's father saw, and maybe that's what he felt would be happening with the way that Shawn Porter was getting tagged. But Shawn Porter wasn't hurt, and Shawn Porter wasn't given a chance to fight his fight, and we weren't given a chance to see the outcome. And I believe that was because, number one, Shawn Porter has a career in TV. Shawn Porter had never been stopped, and he still has not been stopped technically. And they're able to ride off in the sunset, and he's able to look at his son and be happy with the decision that he made because of how much is on the sunset of Shawn Porter's career. You know, how many opportunities are available for him. But those are basically the reasons why Terrence Crawford is not getting the nod when it comes to Errol Spence. Now, had those fights lasted a little longer, and had Terrence Crawford been tested a little more, then I think we'd be having a very different discussion. But until then, I think the masses will overwhelmingly lean towards Errol Spence because we've just seen him go through so much in and out of the ring and always come out on top, and he's done it honestly. You know, no tricks, no flash, no demonstrations of some magical God-given talent. You know, just honest, basic, hard nose to the groundwork. And I don't want to say any of that to take away from Terrence Crawford. You know, he's knocked out every opponent he's faced in this division. Even Errol Spence hasn't done that. So, you know, those are my thoughts of a rambling mind. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and I'm out.